When you set yourself up for success by asking the right questions, the scope, all these things, you set yourself up for being able to charge more as well.
You want to be fast. You want to be yes to everything. You want to be like, whatever you need, I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But that is the extremely wrong way to approach it. Making a project based on what you want to do, but you're not fulfilling the client's needs.
Yes.
This is a huge mistake.
Sometimes the client's just like, what is this?
Yeah.
I just wanted to recap. Like I gave you the reference already.
Yeah,
Why are you doing things I don't want?
Sometimes like a money job is never going to be a portfolio piece. Imagine being on set and then like the client comes in and they're aligned with the creative that you guys decided on before that they shared with you.
Yeah.
And then it's something completely different.
You're done.
You're done.
Most people get numbers completely wrong because they don't have an intake model when it comes to taking in new projects. They just think a big number is how much you're going to make without understanding the actual scope, understanding how the business actually works and where the money is actually going to go. Whether that project is a portfolio piece or one that's purely a money job, they have no understanding of the flow and then the differences between them. So today we're actually going to walk through our entire intake model, how we think about projects, how we actually decide what's portfolio versus what's money, and the things that we do differently that actually makes us profitable as a business. Most people are in pain because they take on any job that comes through on their side and then they think, this is it. This is something that I'm going to use as my portfolio piece. And then suddenly at the end, it's not a portfolio piece. They make no money off of it. And then they're completely burnt out wondering why their portfolio isn't better. And so today we're going to break down all the myths and we're going to tell you all the truth and the things that we've learned over the years to actually get you into a profitable business. So let's dive right into it.
Well, I kind of want to even take it further back to being like a solo videographer and running your own business, because I feel like that's where a lot of people are. And I've been there so many times where you have to say yes to everything. That's like when you're starting off and you want to build your portfolio and everything like that. But there's been so many projects I remember in the past when I was doing solo or even with just one other person that I would say yes because the money looked appetizing. And then the scope of the project I didn't really understand. I didn't understand of like how much work was really involved. And that's usually what happens when it comes to post-production, right? I remember I had this client, and this was at my old studio, where he just wanted to do some talking head stuff with some animations, and it was like 6 videos, right? And this was a problem on my end where I didn't put in the contract the amount of revisions, but I was working on this project for probably 3 months and I wanted to blow my brains out. And then we had to reshoot it so many times because they weren't happy with how they looked and things that they really needed to take care of. But I didn't realize how much work was going to be involved because I just didn't have the knowledge. You know what I mean? We're building libraries as we go on. We're building experience. But I feel like at the beginning, that experience is really hard to gauge if a project is worth taking on or not based on the budget.
Great. So let's actually discuss and dive into that. So
Yeah,
we're going to talk about a few things.
Good starting
which
point.
Specifically is, what is scope specifically?
So scope, how would I describe this? Scope is like, what is the scope of the project? What is involved in executing the project, in planning the project, as well as finishing the project? I feel like that's a good way to do it. Pre-production, production, and post-production, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people think scope is just like, okay, cool. What's in front of me? What's this one deliverable? But you have to do the math in front of everything. Mm-hmm. So once you get any kind of intake coming in, pretty much we consider scope like, what does it take just for us to handle it on the labor side? Yep. But then you have to keep into account everything else. So like post-production labor, how long everything is going to take, what the deliverables are, what the breakdowns of those like cut downs might be as well. And so scope really is understanding the full idea or scope of the project. Yep. And if you think it's just the, whatever they're telling you right there in that singular line, it's really not that, right? You have to take into account the bigger picture of what it's going to take from you and your business as well as your time. So then you can make these equations in your head to whether or not you could even take the project on.
Yeah, if it even makes sense, because I feel like it also depends on the client understanding the scope of the work as well. Because there's a lot of times where you'll get a 60-second deliverable and that's it, maybe a 30-second cut down, so 2 deliverables, and they're like, yeah, it's just one video, and it's easy. And you're like, nope, yeah. It's not. There's a lot involved in that, right?
Yeah, and sure, you guys get to figure out like over experience what comes from what. Like, how long does a video take that's 60 seconds? You have to make this kind of math equation too to understand what type of video this is. And so that goes into the next one, because once you understand the scope, you still have to figure out exactly what type of project this is.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, we kind of just assumed every video was the same. And I think that was kind of a problem from our end, obviously, because no video and no project is ever the same.
Yeah. Because I feel like when we started, we're always pushing everything to be some sort of portfolio piece, even sometimes when it really needed to be. So I feel like our philosophy right now is when we intake a project, is it a money job, or is this something that we could push a little bit forward that could sit in our portfolio realm that we could sell even more?
Yeah.
And then there's everything in between.
Yeah. So just to deep dive a little bit more into that, this is our model that we focus on inside of Tenfold. It's actually how we approach every project that comes in. So then we can make the right decision on whether or not we take a project on or not. There's a lot of projects that will come in. Some you'll say yes to, some you'll say no to. In the beginning, it seems like everything you say yes to. And so you kind of lose this model because you don't even understand like how it might affect you further down. It's not just like, sometimes the video going to be worthwhile for our careers or portfolio? The bigger question is, will this video break us? Like, will this break the system? Will this be worthwhile for the team? Will this take Zach off of a project for months and months? We have to make these simple equations, but they're so impactful because it's not just your time and energy. It's like your brain capacity is the biggest thing, because if you are taken off a project and you get burnt out and all these things, you just can't come back from it. Like it takes a lot longer, and which means it slows your entire business down. And so what Zach's talking about is our kind of intake model, which is when a project comes in, we don't even do anything, right? We send it to each other. We don't get excited, right? Number one thing you don't want to do is send something through and get excited for something, right? We always talk about keeping your energy as even keel as possible, because if you let people kind of pull you up and down when a project comes in, you lose the leverage on being able to negotiate or throw in your own scope or changes on the actual project itself. And so from the jump, we just don't say anything, right? Like, don't rush to be like, hey, how's it going? Like, here's my number. Like, that's such a classic old thing. It's like, I think the speed is going to get you the response back that you want, but that's just like a setup for failure because you jump into the wrong things.
Yeah. And it's really hard at that point, because even looking back to when I started my business and everything like that, you want to be fast. You want to be yes to everything. You want to be like, whatever you need, I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But that is the extremely wrong way to approach it, because say I'm hiring you for a video. Okay. And I come to you, I'm like, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. My budget's $2,500.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're at the point where like, I need that $2,500. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But no, I am reaching out to you because I found you. I like your style. I value you. And then you have to have that value for yourself to say like, hey, I'm actually worth that, or even worth more.
Yeah. Let me role play how this goes out before.
Yeah.
So you reach out to me. I get this email. I'm freaking out. And I'm like, oh man, I had a super slow month. If I land this, it'll fill my month, but I don't even keep into mind like what it will do overall. I just look at this number and I'm kind of in a spot where I need the money.
Yeah.
And so I just, without thinking, you don't even give me what the context of the project is. You're just like, I just need a commercial done or like a video content done, and I have $2,500. And then you say on my end, yes, let's do this. Let me know a little bit more about what you're dealing with. Like, let's dive into it.
Yeah. So you said yes before you understood the scope of the project.
I have no scope at all. I have no scope.
You saw money.
I saw money. I have no scope. I have no timeline delivery. I have no information on rights, usage, where you're going to use this stuff.
Yeah.
These are all things that you ask beforehand. And I really just asked you, give it to me. Let's jump on a call. Let's dive right into it. And the biggest thing here too, you guys don't realize, is that I don't know if you suck or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a terrible person to work with or someone that just doesn't care about video and is throwing money around and dangling in front of my face, because now I have no leverage. Now I'm just like, I'll do anything for you.
You're a slave to the money at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the technician.
And they're going to wag it in front of your face, unfortunately, because that does happen. Hey, have you ever felt stuck as a videographer and want to push past the $2,500 to $5,000 projects and really start creating work that feels a lot more intentional? I feel like we did this with our business constantly with making spec work. And this is one of the most important things that we did that propelled ourselves as a production company. And that's why we created Cinematic Portfolio Mastery. This is a cohort style course where we take you through the entire process on how to make a spec commercial for a whole 6 weeks. By the end of this 6 weeks, you will have a spec project for yourself that you can start marketing and push yourself where exactly you want to go in your filmmaking career. Check out the link in the description below to join the waitlist now. Let's break it down in terms of our model, how we approach things, of what we said about money jobs versus creative portfolio pieces.
Yeah.
And we're in that beginning videography stage, as well as going into getting to commercial productions. Budgets are hitting between $2,000 to $5,000.
Yeah.
Project comes to you.
Yeah.
How do you approach it?
Yeah. So first thing we do, we just stop, we take the photo because we're in a group, obviously. I send it to these guys and we just sit down and we're like, hey, what's going on in the business right now? Mm-hmm. And so this is actually the number one place we start, is a quick audit for ourselves to be like, what are we doing right now? Okay, what is coming up as well? Because you need to know foresight into the future of, how your timing is going to be spent.
Of course.
And then we sit there and be like, okay, once we have those questions, what does this project look like itself, right? What do we expect from this? And the bigger thing too is, if this email is just not a strong enough email, this conversation doesn't really go far, right? Let's go into the example. All they sent us was, hey, we have a project for $3,500. Okay. I wanted to see if you guys were interested or had bandwidth. Super common email to get, especially in the early stages. If I bring that to these guys and I'm like, hey, they have $3,500 for a project, immediately these guys are going to ask me like, what's the project?
Yeah. We usually come back and be like, but what are we doing?
Yeah, because it clearly shows that they don't even know exactly what they're doing yet. So it could be a huge scale thing, or it could be a quick 20-second, 15-second video.
It could be
we
either.
Don't know, right? And so at that stage, the number one thing you always want to make sure for look out for is ask the right questions. Because if someone sends you a message like that, it's typically a yellow or red flag right off the bat, right? Because when you have a little bit more experience and you guys start to grow into more agency and larger brands, oftentimes they're not just hitting you with, hey, do you do video? It's like, hey, here's the brief, here's the brand, here's the whole campaign name, and then we're gonna give you the budget, the delivery time, all that stuff, because it's something that you start to figure out a little bit more. The more transparent you are, the more you have, the less you have to hide, right? And that goes for both the client side as well as yourself. And so whenever we look at these kind of projects and they come into us, we always make sure hey, where are these guys coming from? Are they giving us everything we need? And if not, sure, we'll obviously just ask those questions immediately, which is in our free client PDF. If you guys want to check that out, it's on our website, Client Brief. It's the PDF that shows you, here's the immediate question you ask when someone reaches out to you. Regardless of the scale of project, whether it's a global national brand or a smaller, small business, it's always okay, what are the deliverables? Fully broken out. So not just hey, it's just 160-second hero. It's is that really all you're going to need? Do you have cut downs? Do you have other formatting that you need? That stuff takes time and it takes energy for your editor or yourself, right? Second, you ask for delivery timelines. So when is this due? Because we need to know whether or not we can take it on or not. Maybe another project's already happening during that time. And then maybe it's happening in 2 weeks. And we're like, oh my God, there's no way we can access that, right? Yeah. And then the third one is usage rights, right? So, and licensing. This is one we never asked for a long time ago. You might think just because you're you're reaching out to a small business that, of course they're just going to do web and social. That is an assumption that's going to bite you in the ass. Yeah. Because sometimes people have a low budget, but they still have high expectations of this is going on global TV or whatever.
Or this is going on a billboard, and they don't communicate that with you.
And then
you
get screwed. Yeah, you get screwed, and you suddenly see it somewhere, and you're like, we didn't pay the talent enough for that, and that's going to bite us in the ass.
Yeah. And then that comes on your fault.
Yeah.
Because you're the vendor in between if something happens. And then to even break it down even further, when it comes to billboards, especially using on TV and stuff like that, usage and rights is just so important, because you can get into a lot of legal trouble if you do not communicate that at this beginning. And you're going to get in trouble, not necessarily the client, because you're the one that's providing the assets.
Yeah. And truthfully, everyone gets in trouble. Yeah. Right? Because they're probably going to get sued because they're the ones that have their brand name on it. But they expected you to know this stuff ahead of time and clear these things out. And again, this is just a common place for miscommunication to happen, because you're just going to keep pointing fingers, but ultimately it's everyone's fault. You didn't ask the right questions. They didn't ask the right questions for you. Yep. And then now you're in this stalemate and you're kind of screwed. So again, we've dealt with this stuff before, not personally on that scale, but we see where it can happen, and we've seen it and heard a bunch of stories about this stuff. So you definitely want to ask that question ahead of time. Even if it's a small business, you want them to tell you that it's web and social only, not make the assumption.
And I like how you said in terms of the more transparent you are and the more transparent the client is, the easier the process is going to be because there's nothing to hide. But then there's the other reality of it when you have a small business owner who reaches out for a video, they do not have the knowledge. That's just straight up. They're just focused on their business, rightfully so. They don't know how, video production, videography, commercial filmmaking, everything goes like that. Yeah. So you kind of have to communicate to them in the best way. And that's what the intake form is for.
100%.
You know what I mean? So it's just like you can spell it out and you can guide the conversation. That's the main thing in terms of these two sides of clients, of guiding it, and then two professionals knowing what they exactly want and being transparent as possible.
Yeah. This is the whole point of like, not every client that comes in is the exact same. Some you have to guide through, some you have to like coach, some are very experienced and it's very easy for you the whole way through. Like that's like 10, 15% of the time really.
Yeah.
And then the rest you're just trying to figure it out together, right? So, it's sometimes not malicious either. Some people just are new to it, like Zach was saying.
Yeah, they don't know.
They're focused on other stuff. And then you're the person that, they are coming to you as a video professional. And so it's not to be mad at people or whatever. Your goal is to become a detective, right? Yeah. It's like, let's ask all the right questions. And then you use that information to guide whether or not this is the right client or not, right? Yeah. Like you're making these micro decisions as you're going and you're almost just calculating like, it's almost like a pro versus cons list and being like, does this make sense for me where I'm at? The last one here that we typically ask to as well is references, right? And so the initial reference is a big thing for a few reasons. We ask them, hey, simply, right? It's like, hey, do you guys also have a reference of something that you're trying to create, right? Because this is the place where two things happen. If they haven't actually thought about this whatsoever, they almost won't have a reference. Another yellow flag, right? Because that means sometimes people are just chasing for money. Like they're just wasting time. There's a lot of people that reach out to you that are there to waste your time.
They just don't know what they want.
They just don't know.
And it's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. Because back to my whole point of like, you get super excited for someone saying like, oh, you guys want to do video? Like we have money for you guys. How many times have you been ghosted after you're like, yeah, let's do it? Because they're in most cases just checking how much you cost, right? And then if you don't ask the right questions, you don't look like the expert. There's a reason why we go through this process with every client we go through is because it sets the foundation of like, we're a gold standard. This is how we approach projects. If we're not on the same page before we ever move forward on this stuff, we're just not going to move forward, right? Yeah. Because we equally as the professionals need to know everything we need to know so we can properly quote you, so we can properly give you a yes on this project or not. And if you don't, it means that you don't care, right? Like the client side, it's like if they don't give you the right information, huge yellow flags, huge red flags that they weren't ready, and then they don't care about the projects that you're putting out, right? Like this happens to us all the time. I ask that question, I ask those 4 questions or so, and then either I get a response back like, yeah, this is great. Here's all the information. We already have it all ready for you. Let's jump on a call. That's almost like a trigger for me to be like, this is a legit client.
Yep.
Let's go for it, right? Oftentimes what happens is, oh, let me get back to you. They never get back to you. Yep. Or they get back to you and they give you like half of what you need and then they go, actually, we're still trying to figure this out.
So perfect. Go figure it out. Come back.
Exactly. Go figure that out. It's totally fine. I'm not a creative partner here to help you out because that costs money and time. You guys need to be very protective of how you spend your time and energy.
And then also it's just like that is very dangerous for you to help somebody in terms of a creative to figure out what they want. Because if you go in this direction that you think is doing best, because you've analyzed the market, you understand how trends work and everything like that, and you understand video, and they go in this direction, and then you have a finished project, and they're like, oh, I didn't want that.
Yeah. Or you give them a great creative idea, and then they disappear on you.
And they steal
You have
it.
not signed a contract. Yeah. You have not given anything. You do not owe people anything unless it's a legitimate project. And even then, you still want to get to like a place where you know it's a legit your project and you're not doing it part of a triple bid that like suddenly they just run away with or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of things that, you have to gauge this stuff as if, super even keel, right? Imagine, and I say this a lot too, to our students as well. It's like a client is not a client of yours unless you have money from them in your bank account.
Hey guys, it's Zach, and I hope you're really enjoying the conversation. The last 6 years working as a commercial cinematographer, the biggest thing that has given me advantage is my pre-production process. And that's why we created the pre-production playbook. This course includes an entire walkthrough and the documentation for my entire pre-production process, from director alignment all the way the day before your production.
If you guys ever found yourself struggling on set or not even knowing where to start in the pre-production process, I personally invite you to check out the pre-production playbook in the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the conversation.
That's the solidified signed contract, money in your account. Let's do some business. Let's work right now.
Let's do something.
Anything before that, you're just gauging whether or not this is the right client or not, whether this is, green flags on their end to make this a legitimate project. And then like the energy that you kind of go with, right? So I think of it this way, and we kind of jumped a little bit forward. When we talk about the references and you ask that reference question, the second part of that is actually just looking at how big of a scale is this project? Because that happens often too, where they say, hey, we would love to do this content kind of commercial with you guys. This is early on, right? Maybe in that $2,000 stage or whatever. And then they send you like a Coca-Cola ad. And you're like, something's not matching up here.
Yeah, this is like a 6-figure commercial.
Yeah, easily. And then they have $2,000 for you and it's due in 2 weeks.
And they're like, oh, you can, come on, it's easy.
Yeah. And again, super red flag just because you got to do the math, right? It's like they're expecting the world, which you can't offer because you don't have enough budget. And this is one of those times where back in the days, we're like, can we figure that out?
We can do something like that. We can figure it out. We need the money.
And the answer is no, right? Because in any world, the expectation is too high. It's already set crazy high.
You're already set up for failure.
Yeah. And then now you have to say, just tell them like, hey, based on this reference, typically something like this would cost
this
to
much.
$600,000 because it's not a guesstimate. It's more so like, hey, that's like a multinational level campaign with like 45 actors, huge locations, and a set build. I can't build that with $2,000, and there's nothing you have on your end access wise for us to be able to come in and do that.
Yeah.
And so again, this is the reason why we have to make micro and also large decisions based on everything they give us, because we are detectives and we're trying to just break down like what world are they in, and then what world are we in,
and then how can we help them?
Yeah.
With the money exchange, of course.
Exactly. The money is not the issue here.
No.
Right? The thing here is the expectation of like what boundaries are set here. Do we even want to do this project? Someone comes in with that $2,500 with the Coca-Cola ad idea, insane usage rights, and then you're like, hey, it's due in 3 weeks. Does any of that sound feasible? Just because it's $3,000 and you might not need $3,000, even if it's $50,000 or $100,000 with those same parameters, we still probably can't do it.
No.
Because the expectation there is so high. And yes, people are probably like, how can you turn down $100,000? I'm sure you can figure that out.
No.
I'm like, at that scale of what you need to get it done, like your usage rights itself might cost you $100,000.
Yeah, probably like it's going to take up 80 to 100% of that budget.
Yeah. And then the team you would need to bring on, the rush fee that would happen, the intensity of like getting that creative locked in a week just to shoot it around and turn around and shoot it and edit it in 2 more weeks after that. Like you'd be completely fried. There's almost like, yes, you can, I'm not saying you can't execute stuff at a really high level very quickly, but there's a very small margin of victory there, because the rest of the stuff, if you don't do it right, you're screwed. And if you just bang it on perfectly, you're working 24 hours every single day. Everyone's locked off. Everyone clears their plates. And then it's like, you have all these things locked in. You need multiple producers, multiple teams running. It's like, we've heard of these productions happening before, and it burns people out, and it's an awful place to be in.
And we've done them before too.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. And it's
not fun.
It's the good, fast, and cheap analogy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can do something good and fast, but it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
Only two can exist in those worlds, and that's it.
So you got to pick and choose, right? Not every project is a great project. And, we've heard of this question before too. It's like, how do I learn to separate the two, right?
I feel like that's a really good question where we can even bring it back, because I know we scaled up to like this $100,000, multi-million-dollar commercial, whatever. Yeah. But now, how do you deem a project a money job?
Yeah. And so now that you guys understand the framework of how we intake and think about projects itself, we're going to talk about this, right? So, which is, how do you decide on what's a money job? A project comes in, and then we go through that whole process, and then we talk about where, and more or less you have this understanding of where you guys are trying to go as a solo business or a group business before this even happens, right? Like this is a much bigger conversation that you need to know about who you are, what you guys are trying to get after. And then you have to look at the project in a vacuum by itself. actually for the moment, right? Once you have all the information. But then once you have all the information, now you got to look at it more of like a bigger scale in terms of how it reflects into your business.
Yeah. And to give you guys a comparison, if we got a talking head set of interviews plus B-roll for a real estate company versus the same budget for a music video.
Yeah.
Guys, what are we trying to do? Where's the money in this? You know what I mean? Where are we moving towards as a business?
Yeah. So let's just go through all these examples individually, which is great.
Yeah.
So real estate. So if a real estate project comes in, we look at what we have in our current portfolio. What are we as a production company? We're like a commercial narrative production company. We do commercials. We also do documentary work on the side. We kind of have like two separate portfolios that, work hand in hand, right? And then you look at this real estate project and say it pays you $75,000, right? That's the budget. Okay. You kind of make that decision. This is where we start to talk about this inside the business. Okay, we have nothing going on. This project looks like it might be worthwhile based on the budget and then the information that was provided to us, the deliverables, the timelines. It all is somewhat feasible, right? Now the question becomes, okay, do we care about this being in our portfolio, or do we care about this just continuing to grow the business, right? Because we kind of look at this in two different models here. If you take the making the money way, the ratio for our margins is very different, right? We want to maximize as much of our margin as possible and spend as little as possible, aka our expenses, so then we can take that, our money that we actually make on that project and invest it elsewhere or put it into the business itself.
Yeah. So that means internalizing gear, internalizing crew, and just making it work with our system that we have, everything. And then obviously just not shooting on the most expensive cameras, you know what I mean? And cutting down labor, because us four as a group can take on a lot more than just taking on the project and hiring a bunch of people that I just definitely don't have the same connection with, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so that's kind of the framework when we go into more of a internalized kind of making money project. We look at it, we say, hey, instead of renting everything, we have all this stuff in-house already, so we're going to save money there.
Can we make it work?
Right?
Can we use our cars? Do we need a package truck?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Can we just shove everything in everybody's cars and show up, and then obviously do it professionally? And just rent what we bare minimum need. Yeah,
because there's a world where you have to understand, no one really judges you based on how it's executed. Funny enough, it's like they care about the final result more or less. And so when you go into a production that's like $75K, as long as it runs well, the shots and images are great. There's a very minimal loss in quality between an FX3 and a Mini LF. But the Mini LF will cost you $2,000 a day with all the accessories and all these things added on. It requires more crew. It requires all these things.
It ends up to be probably like $6,000 a day.
Yeah. Or you just go for your FX3 that you're super comfortable with, and you can get the same images. You can still get a wireless feed for the client.
Yep.
Same experience, more or less. You just lose some of the nice frills that come with it.
Yeah. And then when we talk about like the image, it's only probably about, everybody's going to get mad at this, 10% better.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're going to know that. We're going to like that.
That's all that matters.
But the client's not going to go up like, oh, you guys are shooting this on FX3s? What the hell?
Yeah. Clients don't care about what camera you're using, what lenses you're using. They're like, whoa, there's people here filming for us. Yeah. That's the extent and happiness. And we love that about them, because it's like, hey, we're going to get you the best looking images regardless. We're just taking a different tool set to do it. Right.
Yeah. And I feel like that we've really grown and matured as a business. And even when it comes to these things of prioritizing client comfortability, access, just having somebody dedicated talking to client, separate video village, everything like that, that's prioritized over the camera any day now.
Exactly. So there's always a flip in the model of how we approach stuff, right? And so say we have so that's more of the money side, right? We're trying to capitalize on our margins, lower our expenses. We still make the project look great because we have like colorists and sound people, and we want to just like find a more minimized team that can also like do multi-roles potentially, that still gets us to the final as easy as possible. We're not saying like cut everything else so we're dying and we're struggling on the project.
Or like making other people struggle, but it's just like we know exactly what we need because we've been doing this for about 5 years.
Exactly. We call it like the minimum viable product, right? It happens on both sides of our business, which is what is the least we can do to get the exact more or less same level. 80% of the way there is more than you can even ask for.
And then just bring it up in post.
Yeah, exactly. Post does a lot of stuff. We've used a Handycam before and it matched up to an FX3 and we're like, whoa, this is some crazy stuff.
That's just a good colorist.
Good colorist does a lot, right?
Now,
let's talk about
the other side of the spectrum.
Exactly. So Give me an example of what another option might look like.
Okay, so now, not necessarily dream clients, but in the realm of stuff that we want to do as a business, right? Say like a New Balance reached out in terms of fashion. You know what I mean? Hey, we have about $10,000 and we want to do this fashion commercial, 30-second. We really want to lean on your guys' creative in terms of what you've done in the past with fashion films. Are you interested?
Yeah. And New Balance, you are a dream client, so reach out to us if you are. This is a very common thing where it's kind of the flip. So now money is lower, but then the client level is higher.
I kind of did a 2 thing here.
Yeah. So this is kind of cool because it will happen to you guys and you have to make this decision or not. We hear it with our students all the time where like the budget's not super great, but everything else looks really good.
And I feel like the main thing when it comes to a money job versus a portfolio piece, I feel like the main thing is access. Like, what do we have access to? In this example I give here, big brand that we want to work with that can leapfrog us to that space. 2, they're giving us product that we really like. And then 3, access to that fashion world that I know that you and I really enjoy in terms of that narrative commercial style.
Yeah.
So like, it goes back to exactly what we did before. Aligning as a business, where do we want to go?
Yeah. So this is the conversation we would have. It's like, we bring it in, same exact conversation. It's like, hey guys, it's 10K. It's not a lot of money, right? And we know that because, again, this is all subjective because where we're at right now, 10K means everything is going back to the project itself.
Yeah.
And then we look at the brand and what the concept is. This is another question, right? Because it's New Balance potentially, but is it is it New Balance, but it's internal commercials on how to run their internal stores? Or is it New Balance like, hey, it's a New Balance Foot Locker collaboration. Yeah. It's going to go out to the world. It's going to go on our main pages. This is like a large campaign. We just unfortunately don't have money for this. Yeah. Do you guys want to partner for this project? You can see how quickly still, those are 2 different things.
Those are 2 different things. So when Jason says something internal, like we've done a lot of these videos for different brands where it just lives on their like internal website for them to send to employees.
Yeah.
Like instructional videos about their store, about like, hey, this is what the store and this is what it is, versus a global campaign that is tied to another even brand.
So you can still see, even though it's a bigger brand, smaller money, it could still lead into the money job side.
So many other opportunities.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another thing that you have to weigh when it comes to money versus portfolio. Can I invest my time, the entire budget, even something of myself, so I can get the work that I want to get in the future?
Yeah. So this is a perfect example, right? New Balance, and then it splinters off again. And then you go internal or external video, right? And they're both 10K. So if it goes into the internal side, then we'd be like, cool. Quick money job. Now we just do the exact same concept we just did before. We minimize everything. We take it all in-house. We're shooting only thing on FX3s. We're only using internal people that we know. And so we can make, let's say 80% of the margin there, $8,000 from the 10K. And then we spend 2K as a buffer for the expenses.
And then we make that connection with New Balance. We still execute it on a high level.
Yeah.
And then say, like at the end, like, this is probably a conversation that you or Adrian would have with the client of like, hey, love the process. Let us know if you have anything else in the pipeline. We also do this work as well.
Yeah.
Here's our entire portfolio that we've done with similar brands.
Exactly. And then the flip side is you take it on as a portfolio piece because you're like, guys, it's going to be a large campaign. It's going to look good. The creative is great as well. We have some flexibility here. We're just going to make no money on it. And again, that's the choice you make right there in the middle. And then when you come to this, and I'll say the bigger thing here, regardless of what side you take, this is a huge one for everyone because we talk about this with our students all the time. Regardless of what direction you take, you have to put your 100% in it, right? Because if you half-ass the portfolio piece side, and even though you can't, once you've made that decision that it's a portfolio piece, you can never in your head be like, it's so low money anyways.
Yeah, you can't.
You've already made the decision. Right? Like you've already said, I'm going to go 100% into this, right? And I'm going to make sure that it's the best thing possible, regardless of what the budget is, because that's the mental decision you've made.
Yeah, because it's really easy if like you're making $8,000 on a job versus 0 to be like very motivated in the $8,000 aspect. But if you're making 0, you're like, I'm not even getting paid. All the budget's just gone. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't flip it afterwards.
You can't flip it. You got to go all in.
And sometimes it's the flip side too, right? Where it's like, sometimes we're more motivated by not making any money.
It is. We're always motivated by that aspect of it. No, we're motivated regardless. But I feel like when it's a portfolio piece and it hits everything that we're excited about and we know that we're investing into it, I feel like it's a lot more motivating for sure.
And I'll talk about it back on the money side. When I say 100% of your energy, it's not necessarily your creative bandwidth side of it. It's just not letting that project go just because it's internal, thinking that whatever, I don't care about this. I'm just gonna let it go. Like if it comes out bad, you lose that relationship forever.
Yep.
Right. And so we're always saying like, okay, don't put all of your eggs in your basket for the money job, because that's the whole point of it, right? You're trying to minimize your overall usage so you can do other projects at the same time.
Yeah.
You do want to give it and make sure the client is 100% happy, not that you guys put like 10% of the energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to just like find that good balance there where it's going to look great. We're giving them exactly what they need. We don't have to make a DC cut or anything because this is just purely an internal thing. You're doing a good job, and then you're using that money that you're saving to put towards your spec projects and everything else into your business. But again, these are the mental models that we have to take all the time to make these decisions.
Yeah. And like, if you just carry this mentality of like, if you have a 7-figure project, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Hope that happens to all of you.
Yeah.
6-figure project, 5-figure project, or a 4-figure project. They're all the same.
It's all the same.
You have to treat it the same. And I feel like that's what's put us a really good edge on us, because everybody loves the experience that we have regardless of the scale of the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people just skip those early stages of, if you don't get the full scope of this project, you don't know where to bucket this stuff.
Okay. So I know that we talked a lot about creatively fulfilling portfolio versus money and how to approach projects. What's a bulletproof system that somebody at really any stages of the career, because there's a lot of people at varying stages who are listening and watching this, that they can follow, that they can start saying yes and no to the right clients?
Yeah. You have to go into every client, reach out, inquiry, whatever it is, with the same model you do, whether it's small or big, right? And it's figuring out all the information from the beginning, asking the right questions. That is the beginning of everything we do. If you go into all of our emails, it's the exact same thing. You get the exact same questions, especially if we don't get it from the initial email, right? Again, we're always talking about re-leveraging yourself, putting yourself on top as the video professional, as the cinematographer, DP, whatever it is, or director. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what role you are. You always need to have this information, or else you can't make further decisions down the line. Secondly, you have to know exactly where you're at in your own business, right? Whether that's yourself or a crew or a team, and you have to like have these decisions beforehand and know where you guys are going. So then you can actually make decisions on, are we going in this path, or are we going into the path of just making money, right? And then once you have those two decisions in mind, now it's figuring out where your business is at, what type of project this looks like, and like understanding kind of where everything goes in terms of the scope. Is the timeline not available for you? Is the money not enough? What can you guys actually do? What's feasible for yourself? Because we're talking about these numbers on our scale, it might not match up to where you guys are currently at.
Of course.
Right? You guys might be working on, $500 videos, $1,000 videos, and then the $3,000 video might be our equivalent of like $100,000 video. Mm-hmm. To you, it might kind of like shock your heart a little bit. And at the same time, for us, when it's like, $500,000 for this campaign, and then you don't want your brain to suddenly switch off and not do the common things that you need to, because that number kind of like looks like a fairy dust.
Yeah, and it clouds your vision. Right?
It clouds your vision. Yeah. So again,
the main steps are get all the information.
Yeah.
Audit your business.
Yeah.
Where you are, where you're going, and then
make decisions based on that. But then you have to commit to the decision.
Then the last one is just committing. And I feel like even a big one is like having the confidence to say that like I am valuable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am getting hired because of what I do. Yeah. If you value yourself and what you're offering as a business person, I feel like that goes a long way in terms of confidence, in terms of these conversations, especially because it's really easy to like get scared in these conversations because you feel like you have to serve your whatever the client says.
Yeah. It reminded me of something that used to happen before for us when we were only in that like $1,000, $2,000 stage. I got an email from a different client one time telling me, hey, wanted to see if you guys might be available for this. Like we were chatting with other production companies, but like they were charging 10x this, right? They were charging like $12,000 and we could only afford X dollars from this, right? We can only afford maybe $2,000, whatever. And then it brought me into this mindset of, ew, how can they charge $12,000 for this? 100% I'm going to take this for $2,000. Don't even worry about it. I got you. I don't even know what the scope is yet, right?
I got you.
And then it's just like, that's kind of that mentality there. And then it took us a while to be like,
yeah, that's worth $12K.
yeah, like at a minimum, that's worth what it is. And again, Zach was saying this in the very beginning. It's like, in the beginning, you say yes to everything.
Which you have to.
Yeah, which you have to kind of keep the system going. But comes a point where you start to value yourself and you kind of grow that self-confidence in yourself to get to a place where you're like, maybe I am worth that $12,000.
No, you are.
It's like, what do I do for myself and what do I show in my business that's getting me to that place? And so I don't judge that person that tried to charge $12,000 because they probably have different expenses. They have different skill sets, experience, all these different things that value and put them into that price range. Do you have that for yourself? Maybe you do, maybe you don't right now. But the whole goal in filmmaking is to, well, number one, survive, right? That's the number one thing for everyone's business is that you keep going into this space. And then secondly, it's finding and building these relationships. And, when you set yourself up for success by asking the right questions, the scope, all these things, you set yourself up for being able to charge more as well.
100%.
And that kind of just all sprinkles into each other. But again, everything falls under this model right here. This is our intake model for how we decide on whether things become paid jobs or spec projects or portfolio work that we level up into. And then I finally found the final point, which is you sometimes, and in most cases, a lot of people in the beginning, you think, this $10,000 project came in. Let's use that New Balance one again.
Got it.
It's an internal New Balance project.
Got it.
And just because you think it's a New Balance and you said yes to the project already, I'm going to turn this into a portfolio project.
Oh, this is a big one. This is actually huge. So what Jason is saying here, that making a project based on what you want to do, but you're not fulfilling the client's needs.
Yes.
This is a huge mistake. You are getting paid to execute on a creative. Just because this has a big client name or something like that, and you want to go a completely opposite direction because it's going to fulfill your portfolio, that is a major no-no. If I go to get a custom suit, and then the tailor's like, I think you'd look good in this, but I'm like, I want this, and I'm paying X amount of dollars. Nah, but I'm going to give you this. I'm like, no.
Yeah. There's an issue with the expectation of what Zach wants versus what the person is trying to sell you.
Yeah.
And so there's a perfect thing that happens all the time, especially for us in the beginning.
Yep.
We would get a recap, for example, and it was $600, $700. What happens is we're like, this is our opportunity to show the world how we can do the best recaps ever. The thing is, we're not trying to become better at recaps. So number one, you're spending more time and energy into this project that doesn't need that. And then sometimes the stuff that you're doing extra on top costs you more money, costs you more time and energy, it burns you out. And then what happens is sometimes the client's just like, what is this? Yeah. I just wanted a recap. Like I gave you the reference already. Why are you doing things I don't want?
Sometimes like a money job is never going to be a portfolio piece.
Yes.
That's it.
That's the number one thing you have to know. Say the New Balance one is a perfect example, right? Say the internal thing. You can't turn the internal thing into a spec project or like portfolio piece, even if, because what happens is now you cut your margins even more and you make less money. Now you're pissed at the end of it because you're like, why did I do that?
And then you're going to burn a bridge with your client. Imagine being on set and then like the client comes in and they're aligned with the creative that you guys decided on before that they shared with you. Yeah. And then it's something completely different.
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah. They're like, that's not what I wanted. And then the flip side is, say it's New Balance, but it's on the portfolio side. This is where you can push more and ask for more as long as it's agreed upon and you're trying to add all this stuff yourself. But this is where, even if it's $10,000 and you want to make it that extra and put in your own money, for example, that's where it doesn't go bad because there's already an expectation of like, this is supposed to be a campaign. It's supposed to be large. Yep. And you're just making things look better and you're evolving it. You're not completely now the flip side is that is like you say you do it like it's the portfolio one, $10,000, and then you turn it into an internal video. It's like that's a crazy twist too, right? You can never just go the complete opposite of what's already sold and expected. So all for the clarity's sake, give the client what they want. That's all it is, right? If you want stuff for yourself, it's going to cost you more money. It's your choice, and then you just need to know you're making that decision. But oftentimes, make your money on a money job. Portfolio work, you've decided on it, keep it a portfolio project. That is it. Do not cross over because you will screw yourself 100% of the time because we do that every single time and we've always screwed ourselves.
Simple as that.
That's it. So that's our model for how we intake stuff. We hope you guys can take some learnings from this as well. If you guys want to learn more about our full systems and how we actually make spec projects and how we actually elevate our brand and our processes as well, you should check out the wait list for the CPM project, Cinematic Portfolio Mastery, which is our live cohort for 8 weeks where we actually teach everyone how to create a spec project and the repeatable processes and systems that we use to land bigger projects and bigger jobs. So if you guys are interested in that, check out the link in the description below. And if not, we'll see you in the next one. We hope you enjoy this one.
Peace.
See ya.